So this is my assignment submission for my Soul Journey podcast. For the first question, um, when did I decide to become a teacher? For me, I don't feel like there is a certain moment in my life where I said, I want to become a teacher, and these are the steps that I'm going to take to get there. For me, I feel like I kind of just found myself in that position through volunteer experience. When I graduated from high school, I was very unclear on what I wanted to do. I found myself doubting whether higher education was even a possibility for me. I didn't feel like I could do it. So I decided to take the step of going to community college. When I was at Santa Ana College, I signed up for a university transfer program. Again, I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I decided to seek that guidance. Part of my program requirement was to volunteer. So I started volunteering at a high school first. And in this high school, I completely changed my mindset on what I thought I wanted to do, because I started at Santa Ana College thinking, oh, I want to do nursing, but that was not the case. That I quickly realized that nursing was not my career path. So I started volunteering at a high school, and I was in a specific program where we worked with students who were newcomers to the United States from Latino countries, so from Venezuela, Mexico, Honduras, Guatemala. This program specialized in helping students adjust to the change from moving different countries. So I started helping them. I was with them for an entire semester, and I really enjoyed, although I had zero background in teaching at that time in my life, I really enjoyed the process of getting to build a rapport with students. I felt like I could relate to them because I was once in their shoes. I enjoyed teaching them, and it's not just about the content. Yes, math is important, science, English, all of that is very important. But for me, I feel like if I can teach someone a lesson that they're going to remember for the rest of their life, then I feel happy and content. For me, I found myself teaching these students easy things that I feel like are easy: how to set up an email, how to make a phone call, how to write a letter. But to them, it's things that they weren't used to doing, or even how to talk to someone who is from here, how to communicate. I think that's just not the way that they were raised, because they were raised in a different country. And that is when I decided that I could see myself in one day teaching. I continued to volunteer. I started at the high school level, then I got placed into an elementary class, and I got placed into kinder. I finished my term with kinder, and I didn't enjoy it as much as when I started with fifth grade. Once I got into the fifth grade classroom, I knew, okay, this is the level that I like. They're not too old, they're not too little. They're a little more independent. I like this level, and this is where I want to be. And that is when I found out that I wanted to teach. Question number 2. A moment in my life where I feel like I demonstrated resiliency was actually at Santa Ana College during my second semester there. As I mentioned before, I never thought that higher education was a possibility for me. My parents were uneducated. I was in a low socioeconomic status class. I felt like that was not attainable for me. During this time at Santa Ana College, I was not working. I did not have money. I was struggling to pay my classes, struggling to pay my textbooks. So I reached a point in the semester where I said, okay, I'm going to drop out. Like, I can't do it anymore. But something told me to stick to it and to try to get it done. I went to class. I got a job. And in that moment, I felt like I wanted to give up. I felt like I couldn't do it. But I had to push through. And if I had not pushed through, I don't think I'd be in the position where I'm at right now. Question number 3. I feel like teachers have to demonstrate resilience in every area of their job, whether it be lesson planning, a lesson, dealing with students, dealing with parents, administrators, whoever it is, whatever area of the job that you're doing, you must demonstrate resiliency. One instance that I can think of, a few years ago, I was working as an after school teacher and I had a student named Nelson. Every single day, no matter what day it was, Nelson would walk into my class in a bad mood, unwilling to participate, would just sit there and do nothing. I feel like I demonstrated resilience in this instance because I don't feel like I gave up on Nelson. I felt like I gave everything I had to try to build that rapport, to try to relate to him so that he could engage in our activities after school. It wasn't until I started greeting him, making sure that I went out of my way to ask about his day, try to ask about his interests, that I started getting through to Nelson a little more and more, and I started to break down that barrier that he was trying to build between myself as his teacher and him as a student. But I feel like students are the most important part of the job, and it's the easiest to just say, oh, he doesn't want to participate, let me just leave him alone. But no, the students that are not asking you for help or are resisting are the ones that need your help the most. They need the most support. They're probably not getting it at home. So I feel like as a teacher, you have to be resilient, not give up, and help them. Give them all your attention, all your love, because that's all they need. Question number 4. So as I mentioned earlier, my first experience in the education field as a role other than a student was in a classroom where I found myself with students who were newcomers to the country. This experience really brought it back home for me. I was born here in the US, but my parents decided to go back to Mexico when I was little. I came to the US when I was 7 years old, and I remember it's one of my most vivid memories from elementary. I remember on my first day here that I needed to go use the restroom, and I asked my teacher. I couldn't communicate in English, so I asked her in Spanish, can I go use the restroom? And she looked at me and she said, no, you need to ask me in English and then you can go. I was not able to communicate and I needed to go, so I remember walking out of that classroom and wandering through the halls. So that day that I found myself in a classroom full of newcomers to this country, it really brought it back home to me. And that's when I realized, like, hey, there are a lot of students that are like me or that need that support in that way that I needed it. And I want to be that support for those students. I didn't know how I was going to get there at that moment. But now that I'm progressing in my higher education path, I'm excited for one day for me to be that support. And I do it now. I'm a substitute, but I don't do it to the capacity that I want to. I don't see those students day to day. And I am excited at the thought of one day I will have my classroom and I'll be able to provide those students with and fulfill the needs that I needed to be fulfilled when I was younger. So that is the experience that drove my desire to become a teacher.